Hi everyone, it's Roger and Jeremy here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at what we're looking forward to watching on Disney Plus in 2023. Now, we're going to be talking about Marvel, we're talking about Star Wars, Disney, Pixar, and a little bit of Star/Hulu as well. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you're here on YouTube. You can also subscribe on the audio platforms. Go find us over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Right, so let's just kind of, so obviously we've got 2023 coming up now, Jeremy. If I was to say to you, like, what are the ones that are really jumping out to you right now that you're most excited about?
Well, the most exciting one I'm most excited about would actually be Echo on Marvel, but I have a special reason for that. My nephew is trying to be an actor, and he actually got to shoot some scenes for that as an extra. Ooh. So. And he says that he's a gang member in some fight scene, so I'm like going to be looking for that because I want to see my nephew on there more than anything. And I really like the character from Hawkeye, so Echo is one that I'm truly looking forward to. Like most of the world, I am a big Marvel fan, but Phase 4 has been hit or miss, so I'm hoping for more from Phase 5.
Yeah, because the thing is with Echo's in this kind of weird position right now where I don't know. I would not like 100% to say it's actually even going to maybe even make it this year, because there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of reports. These are rumors coming from from people that worked on it, that there was a lot of problems and they've got to have to do some reshoots. Originally, it was set, I think, to come out in like the summer of this year. It might be a little bit later. It might even slide into the year. I'm looking forward to this one. I did enjoy Echo when I saw, or Maya as she was in Hawkeye. Saw a little bit. I saw them on stage at the D23 Expo. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's my most. It's that kind of thing of, this feels like a stopgap between for Daredevil for me. And I love the Daredevil character. So this one's in this kind of weird position where I am looking forward to it, but it's maybe well, I wouldn't say, it's probably it's not like least, it's not the one I'm looking forward to the least. I'll say that. That's Ironheart. Ironheart's the one I'm probably I didn't kind of feel it from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I don't know what you felt with Ironheart. Have you seen Black Panther yet?
I have not seen Black Panther yet. I haven't been able to make the theater, so once it hits Disney Plus, I'll check it out. So I don't know much about the Ironheart character, so that's part of the reason I'm not super excited for that one. But I could come away from it wanting to see it more. I could come away from it just like, all right, I'll check it out when it gets here, see what it is.
It goes, obviously that drops next week on the 1st of February, so we had to watch it. And I think for me, it was just like, it's just not, the character didn't really it might be all right, it might be good. For me personally, from the Marvel side of things, Secret Invasion is probably the one I'm most looking forward to. It's a crossover event. I love the comic book series. The fact that we're getting more Nick Fury. We've got Talos in there. This one it's got a big cast. And to me, Secret Invasion is probably the most thing I want to watch on Disney Plus this year.
Yeah, if you remove my familial ties to it, Secret Invasion is the one that I want to see the most as well. Because of everything you've just mentioned, the big cast, return of Nick Fury, who doesn't love Samuel L. Jackson? Come on.
And I also feel this one's going to set up Armor Wars, because we're going to see some more of Cody in there as well. It just and the trailer looks good, and it kind of feels like, in some ways, Secret Wars, I feel like, probably could have been a movie. Well, not Secret Invasion, I should say. Secret Wars is a movie. Secret Invasion could have been a movie. But that's the one. Also, Loki season 2. I loved Loki season 1. More of this, saw a little bit of clip of that before. This for me is definitely, those two shows are probably my most wanted of the year.
Yeah. I did have a question, because I saw that Agatha Covenant Chaos was originally supposed to be later this year, but I've also heard that possibly a Man-Thing special presentation will be sliding into the October slot rather than Coven of Chaos. So,
well, Agatha Coven of Chaos, back at San Diego Comic-Con, they did announce that it was coming out in winter 2023 / sort of early 2024. Now that was a little bit like, well, is it being spread over 2 years, or is it a little bit iffy? How is this going to work? So we weren't entirely too sure. Filming has only just begun last week on the series. So the fact that the filming has only just begun means you're looking at 3-4 months probably filming, 6 months to a year of post-production. I can't see how it physically can get out this year. I actually think 5 series in a year is too much.
I agree.
being and with the 3 movies,
Mhm.
5, I would be quite happy if Echo slipped into 2024, and so did Coven of Chaos, and then they maybe push back. Because I mean, like Daredevil starts filming in February and doesn't finish till the end of the year. It's like that's a long time. Yeah, it feels like, and I do hope that they slow it down a little bit. I did feel like we've seen, as you said at the beginning, like Phase 4 was a little bit hit and miss. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I would be fine if they slowed it down and put more effort into it instead of rushing to get the. I understand they're filling a void because of what happened with the pandemic,
Yeah,
and it was going to have to slow down it eventually. So I'm hoping they do that. And honestly, Coven of Chaos feels like it should be a special presentation rather than a series anyway, because Agatha was not, from the way she was presented, wasn't meant to be anything bigger than WandaVision there. And then it's like, oh, we got a breakout character, and felt like they greenlit a series because to try to strike when the iron was hot. And but with the length of time it takes to make a series, by the time it actually gets out there, the iron's not going to be hot anymore. So
it's stone cold.
What they did last year with special presentations, honestly, in October, Halloweenish, witch special presentation, I think would be great rather than a series for Agatha.
The other thing as well, I mean, like you mentioned, like the Man thing, not her. I think there's lots of little rumors and stuff floating around, but because they're only like basically 1 episode, they can kind of turn them around much quicker, because they did that with Werewolf by Night. They can, and even I think Guardians of the Galaxy, they can just turn them around much quicker because it's just basically an extended episode. So
and
hopefully,
let's be honest, the Werewolf by Night budget was clearly less than everything else. Regardless of your opinion of the quality of the plot and everything else, there's a reason why it was a lot of it was in black and white. A lot of it, they went with a cheaper budget to get a special out. It worked for some, didn't work for others, but still, it was worth trying, and I enjoyed it. You didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely like leaning in on the horror side of things and making it look. I think they probably spent a lot of money to make it look cheap. I think they're probably
also true. Yes.
Yeah.
But still cheaper for 1 than 6.
Yeah. Yes. It's I think as the time goes by, I did like Man thing was the one thing I liked about it. I just didn't really like overall. But so that's the Marvel. Yeah. So let's now talk. Let's shift over to another one. So let's talk now Pixar. Now Pixar's not got a huge amount out this year. They have got Win and Lose, which is all about baseball. And I figured, you being a sporty person, you might be a little bit more interested in this than me.
More interested than you, yes. Am I super interested in this? No. I am excited for the potential for a long form series that was it the Monsters Inc. characters were put into a Disney long form series, but I'm for Pixar to finally do one rather than just a series of shorts. I'm excited for, but the concept of it's the big game, and each episode's going to be the week from a perspective of a different perspective of each player doesn't really appeal to me. That one, but yes, I understand. I'm more interested than you are. But even then, it's got to do more than just, oh, hey, the week for baseball. If that's the case, why don't I just watch an actual baseball game?
Yeah, so I think the trouble is with like sports stuff is that I'll be honest, there's been a few films and stuff that I have enjoyed that are related to sports because they tell the story of what's going on, and I probably enjoy them more than I expect them to. Win or Lose is just kind of one of this weird things of going, one story, one episode, probably for telling the story about a baseball team is probably in my mind enough. I've barely got enough interest in one person's point of view, let alone the whole team's. It looks quite fun from the clip that I saw back at D23. It looks fun. Is it going to sustain? I don't know. But it's going to be a very interesting one. I mean, again, some of these shows they announce so far in advance. It just does feel like it's taken a while to get here. But yeah, so that's Win or Lose. We got some. I think we got Elemental as a movie, but we won't go into the movie side of things too much.
Yeah, I mean, Elemental looks pretty, but it also kind of looks like it's Inside Out, which one we've already got, and we've got a sequel coming. So
yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think it even looks pretty. It looks a bit messy to me. I don't quite. It's something about Elemental is just not clicking with me. It might be different when I see it, but at the minute, it's not high on my list. Right, let's now shift gears a little bit. Let's now talk a little bit about National Geographic, because this is one. There's a couple of things that we've noticed coming up. So we've got a small light Now, we'll say with National Geographic, we're going to see a little bit more of a hybrid release schedule this year in the US, because they're also going to be debuting on linear as well as Disney. They're kind of moving away from sort of just originals like that. But A Small Light, a drama series set in World War II about a woman and her husband that sort of bring sort of Jews in and basically hide them in cupboard. And it's just an interesting. I just like the idea of it being a story that I've maybe not heard, something a little bit different, a little bit more grown up, and yeah, I'm just looking for something fresh, and I think that's what this one's saying to me.
Yeah, that looks interesting. Beyond that, I also was looking at Beyond Belief with David Blaine, because his whole illusion aspect is pretty cool. So, I want to see some of the other stuff around his stuff. But as for National Geographic, it's one of those where I really enjoy their documentaries, but I can never say, oh yeah, I'm looking forward for the documentaries to show up until they actually do. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they release so much stuff. Sometimes it's like, again, sometimes they come in out of the blue and then you're not maybe looking for them to document. I mean, it's like Secrets of the Elephants for Earth Day. That looks like that should be a bit of fun. I'm probably going to definitely enjoy that more than Elephant. So it's going to be interesting. I'm still waiting for information on when the second season of the Magic of Animal Kingdom arrives, because that's one that got delayed in the UK because of the linear shift. But National Geographic is kind of a weird one. There's a lot of stuff, and their release date schedules can move around quite a little bit. But let's now shift let's now talk about Disney, because there's quite a lot of stuff coming. What are you looking forward to?
Hold on, I'm just trying to find my list here.
Yeah, because we've got Awaju is a new animated series that has been made in Nigeria. And this one, just to me, it's like set in a special, like, futuristic world, and it looks weird, it looks different. And again, much like with A Small Light, I just want some different stories. I want some different kind of thing. And not necessarily it looks like Wakanda, but it's just an idea that we're doing something original and fresh. And I think that one's one that I'm definitely looking forward to from Disney's point of view.
So Waju's one that I had here that I'm looking forward to. The Muppets Mayhem is one that I'm also really looking forward to. I want the Muppets to succeed through this. I enjoyed the Muppets Haunted Mansion. Muppets Now was, amazingly, if you'd have told me that had been filmed during the pandemic, I was like, okay, cool, they made the best of it. Then you find out you've some before, it's like, why? But it's things. I love the Muppets. I want them to succeed, but they have been, since Disney has taken over, they've been hit and miss, whether it's because Bob Iger didn't care, or Bob, I don't know what.
Bob. One of the Bobs.
One of them. Well, Iger had the long run there, and it's just kind of like, we're going to shunt them off to like YouTube videos for a while, because I know that they were an Eisner acquisition. So I've heard rumors for years. Some was Iger hates the Muppets. Others were not that Iger hates the Muppets so much as that it wasn't something he acquired, so he didn't put as much effort into it. So I don't know one way or another on that.
I mean, Muppet Mayhem is kind of one of the things. We've not really seen anything of it yet. The fact that it's focused more on the band rather than Kermit could make it work. They're not kind of the ones that instantly shout out to me. I was just checking on which Muppets I've got a Muppets artwork up here, and I was just looking at which ones are missing. Yeah, so we've got like Animal, and we've got Floyd Weather and stuff. So there's a few different ones. Muppets can be so hit and miss, can't they? And I feel like it depends on like how they try and do them. The nostalgia goggles for them just doesn't work forever. And you can kind of I always enjoy them when they're on like when they appear on TVs doing interviews with like real people, and they're messing about, and like the people generally just don't know what to do because they're just a bit confused. So like that aspect, like the Muppet movies, the first, well, the recent one was good, but the sequel wasn't.
The Muppets was good. Muppets Most Wanted was not good. And
the
that's
ABC
the case of one was written by someone who grew up loving the Muppets, and the other was Disney trying to make a buck.
Yeah. Like Muppets on ABC was a little bit trying to be like The Office, didn't really work. There was elements of Muppets Now where it was like this could have worked had you just maybe released them as shorts rather than, and also do more, because it was a bit like, right, we're going to do the same gag in every single episode, where it was a little bit like, okay, we've done this, we could maybe try a different Muppet out. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they work with them. It's I always go into Muppets a bit like full of optimism, but it never quite hits. But then again, I am a kid of the 80s. You know, there's pictures of me like when I'm like 3 or 4 with my Muppet Show t-shirt on, and I still remember being at Walt Disney World a few years ago, and like Kermit and Miss Piggy and stuff, they all came out on the stage in like the American Pavilion or something like that. Yeah. And like my wife said, she said, you were like a little kid. She said, you just like this. Because I was just like, that's Kermit. Just like, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. Anything else jumping out to you?
Yeah. I saw that, was it Peter Pan and Wendy?
Yeah.
Looks kind of interesting. I don't know how many times we have to tell the Peter Pan story, but having watched the 1950s version of Peter Pan recently, and the straight-to-video, I think it was straight-to-video sequel. It was a Disney Toon Studio sequel, whether it was straight-to-video or theatrically released, I don't remember. But having watched those, I'm like, we can do better than both of those. I know that much. So I'm hoping for that. I'm worried about some of the backlash it'll get because it's not the same. But
no, it's kind of a weird one with Peter Pan, because again, I'm at the point where it's like, we don't need to do this. I think the trouble is, well, like Hook, even, I mean, it's hard to believe Hook is like 30 odd years old as well. But that was such it was a different version of it, and it told it differently, and it was fun. This one here just being, I don't know, is it a I don't even, is it a sequel? Is it the same? And it looks like it's a little bit drab in like the art style and stuff that they've gone for, in like, you know, how I kind of hopefully have to see a little bit more about it, but it's not really selling to me right now.
Yeah. You know, I think it's selling mostly on it being Peter Pan, which is, you know, we say we want something original, but there's a reason why all these live action remakes keep making the money and the originals don't. Is because they can sell based off previous experiences.
It is odd because everyone, you know, it's that kind of thing of like going, oh, but they keep doing remakes and they keep doing this and they keep going back to franchises. But yeah, well, when they do something original and fresh, nobody goes and sees it. So they then go, oh, well, and also Disney are pretty bad sometimes as well with like new franchises of not fully going all in until they know it's a hit, and then they hit the accelerator. You know, they did it with like Encanto, and they did it the same with Frozen, where they kind of wait. Oh, you like it? Here we go.
Yeah.
They don't go, because I think they got burned way too many times.
Yeah, they I think they overestimated in the 2000s because the 90s where pretty much everything they put out was a hit, and then in the 2000s they're kind of like, you know, they got burned because so many of those weren't hits, mostly because Pixar was kind of stealing the thunder at that point.
Yeah.
And then, you know, by the 2010s, they're starting to put out more hits, and then now we're in the 20s, and they seem to be a pandemic definitely shifted some stuff, but it seems to be taking off. And then, so their marketing now has gotten rather weird because I still don't know what Strange World was about.
And we've watched it. Yes. I think Strange World is a whole other thing, but in general, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with all of this. There was another series that I'm looking forward to from the Disney side, which is American Born Chinese. It's supposed to be coming this spring. This one just looks so, again, fresh, original story. I do not know. It is based on a well-known book. That saw a little, you know, we've seen some little bits of it at D23. There was also like a little featurette came out. It just, to me, it just like, something different, something a bit fresh. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to from Disney right now. Just like, I want something a little bit original. Like, you know, we had all the Star Wars and the Marvels and stuff. It's like, give it, at least American Born Chinese is that like one thing for me going, new.
Yeah. Let's see. I keep trying anything that's not just Marvel or Star Wars, whether it's even, you know, Lucasfilm with Willow. I was like, I liked most of it. And then I really wanted to like National Treasure, but, you know, I'm just kind of, you know, not there.
Yeah, and obviously we spoke about that last week with like the disdain for the series, but it's going to be interesting to see how I can't see that one coming back. I'm looking at here some other ones that are coming from Disney. We got Prom Pact, a new like Disney Channel movie. I'm going to be. This is the kind of. I think I'm just burnt out on Disney with high school proms. They're not they weren't a thing for us growing up. They're not as big thing over here in the UK. It's just that kind of thing. Like, I don't care. It doesn't mean it. There's no nostalgia for these things, but also it doesn't matter. It's just a party. You know,
I went to prom and I don't care.
No.
it's literally they build it up over here as if it's one of the biggest moments of your final year of high school, and I'm like, it's just a dance, and it wasn't even a good one. I had more fun at previous dances. It was just kind of there and out the door, and then by that point you're just like, I'm ready to be done with high school.
It's again, it just kind of has this whole thing, and also as well, I mean, Milo just looks way too old to be doing it. That's another issue. We've also got a 4th season of High School Musical. I enjoyed season 3. Season 2 was awful. It's a little bit of a series that I'm definitely looking forward. There's another movie here. Did you actually like High School Musical, or did you?
I never watched the series. I never watched the films. They hit Disney Channel after I was out of that range, and then so I just never found anything. They're probably perfectly fine for what they are, but none of them appeal to me.
No, I think that's the thing. I mean, I'm definitely in that zone of. I think I found them as a little bit of a guilty pleasure of that series was definitely a guilty pleasure. Like, I'm liking this way more than I should do. And I shouldn't. It's that kind of thing of like, had this been on Netflix or Amazon, I would never even gone near it. But it was that thing of like, especially at the beginning of Disney Plus, where it's like, where we had one thing a week. So it was just like
Mandalorian and High School Musical.
Yeah. So it was that kind of weird thing. You're like, okay, I kind of like. So yeah, going into season 4, that looks pretty good. We've also got another new movie called Crater. Now, it's like a modern version of Stand By Me, set on a moon colony. Now, so far, all we have got is one picture. Sounds like it could be okay. I'm kind of in the zone now, like with these original movies of like, we've seen a few of them drop in and stuff, and it's like, on one hand, it's like it gives them freedom to do something a little bit smaller, a little bit freer, but at the same time, you can't help but think like, well, if you took at least like 5 cheap movies, we probably could have got like one good one at the cinema. And it's that kind of weird thing of like, again, it's just finding the market. The Disney side of things are a weird one with movies. I don't think 2022. I mean, I personally like Hocus Pocus 2 and Disenchanted and stuff didn't quite hit where I wanted them to.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 kind of hit. I mean, obviously they hit very well with the streaming because it's very popular. The first one's very popular over here, and people wanted to see it over here. Add in the fact that I live right where they were filming. I passed film crews on my way to work. I applied to be an extra, didn't get it, but so it was a lot of watching Hocus Pocus 2 for me and my family. We're like, hey, that we passed that spot. We're more looking at the spot behind them, and the plot was fine. It wasn't bad at all. It's one of those where if I'd have paid to go see it in theaters, I probably would have been like disappointed. Mm-hmm. But for a streaming film, I'm like, this is fine. It's better than the straight to TV films of the 90s, but it's not as good as what I would see it in the theaters. But got no complaints, but still put more effort into other films.
I think we're going to see a lot of this shifting in 2024 onwards. I think we're going to see less of these kind of original movies going straight to Disney Plus. It kind of reminds me because I was watching The Big Shot on Disney Plus the other week. I think it was something that they picked up the rights for over here, and there was a scene in it where Brad Pitt went to a pub in Exmouth, and which is near me. And I'm like, that's not the pub because I've been in that pub. That was not the pub. It was like the outside shot was. I had to look online, go, that is not the pub that they say they're in. And there's like, oh no, it was shot like 200-300 miles away. And it was like a little bit like, oh, he didn't even bother coming to the wedding. It was like, I was watching on Disney, and I was just like, oh, you just literally just said where we were. But yeah, that was one. Anything else Disney wise that's coming out this year that you're looking forward to?
The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder season 2 is coming out. That was a big. The first one was a big. The original series was big when I was young. I enjoyed the first season. Wasn't thrilled with it, but it wasn't bad either. So I'm looking forward to continuing that story. So
yeah, for me that was a show that I didn't get. Again, I was too old by the time the first one came out, and it didn't connect. I'm glad it's back. I am a little bit worried that with them doing the binge drop of 10 episodes, whether or not there's going to be any more of this. I'm hoping there is for people, because it does seem to have been a big hit, and there seems to be a lot of excitement over it. I was a little bit like, oh no, you're doing a binge drop. That's never a good sign on the second season.
No, binge drops on second seasons usually means there's not a third. So.
No, yeah, this was the Netflix effects of kind of what's going through. So that's this. So now let's shift now over to obviously another big one, Star Wars. Lots of Star Wars stuff coming out. Last week we had the Mandalorian trailer come out for season 3. That's starting up on March. I mean, we got to start with that. I mean, that just the Mandalorian right through. That for me is just like a must. This is like that is probably it's almost like that is the system seller. That's the platform, isn't it? Mandalorian and Disney Plus are like this,
Yes.
I mean, you can tell from The Office.
Yes, more Mando. Mando made Boba Fett watchable.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. That was the only bit that was where the episode got. I'm just really looking forward to just getting back into that world, getting that feeling of. And it's kind of weird, really, because I haven't had that feeling for Disney Plus for that. Like for me, like at 8 o'clock, I do the upload for going through it. I check everything that's going on, and the minute I'm done, then it's like I don't want to look on the internet. I just want to get in and watch this episode. And it's like I didn't have that with Andor. Didn't have that same feeling of like I have to watch it the second it comes out. It might be an hour or two later. Yeah, and Mando's got that feeling of like I want to watch this because there's going to be some cameos, there's going to be some stuff that's spoiled, and I want to get in and watch it that second it comes out on Disney Plus. And Mando has that kind of thing for me with Disney Plus. I don't think very few shows do.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited for Mando. It's the Star Wars thing I'm most excited for. It's what launched with the service, as you said. It's what got us through some of the worst parts of the pandemic, where content wise, we're like, do we have anything? Oh, here's season 2. We got something. So, obviously they haven't necessarily needed the show to fill a content void, but as I said, Boba Fett was not very good overall. Obi-Wan I enjoyed, but it had its issues. Andor, I think, is from a plot development, everything was even better than Mando, but it didn't hit with audiences the same. So they really and they can build on. And the thing about the Mandalorian that the others don't is we've been asking for years to build beyond the Empire, just beyond the Empire and the Rebels and the Skywalkers. And while Andor kind of does that, it still is focused on building towards the Empire. Excuse me. Whereas the Mandalorian, it's set after the fall of the Empire and before the rise of the First Order. While he did interact with Luke Skywalker and at the end and in Book of Boba Fett, it's still not, just solely focused on the Skywalker. So it gives us more of what we've been asking for. What's supposed to be this expansive universe, but we seem to only be following this one small subset of people.
Yeah, it's catch-22, isn't it? Because I think that's the problem with Andor, is why it didn't connect with people, was because people didn't have that thing that pulled them in. I'm looking forward to seeing Ahsoka, because I kind of view Ahsoka's kind of in this weird thing of like, it is part of the Mandoverse. It's kind of interconnected with Rebels, which I liked. Obviously she's a Jedi. We're gonna have that show is one I'm looking forward to, because it's kind of like it's going to be a little bit different, and seeing her have her own stories and stuff. That's definitely a show I'm looking forward to watching.
I'm looking forward to the Rebels aspect of it. We know Sabine's been cast. Did they confirm Ezra Bridger will be in it?
It's not official yet. It's not official.
It's not official yet, but so I'm wondering that. So I'm looking forward to the Rebels aspect of it. And I know they've hinted at Thrawn. As for Ahsoka herself, I love the character in Clone Wars. I love the character in Rebels. I enjoyed seeing a live action version of her, but we haven't seen enough of her in Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett for me to get excited for her. and I do miss Ashley Eckstein in the role. Rosario Dawson's played it well. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
At this point, I've seen her direct Grogu to Mando and Grogu to try to get to Luke, and then I've seen her hang out with Luke as he's building the Jedi Academy that we know is going to fail. Yeah. So it's one of those where they've utilized her is not enough to get me excited about her, but some of the other aspects that I want to see live action there. So I am excited for it, but it's a tempered excitement.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm definitely in that. I think definitely we need to see more of it, so that's why I think that was looking forward. There is also a possibility we do get Skeleton Crew this year. I'm going to put that as there might be a question mark. They're still filming it now. It has been shown in some of the like sneak peeks of the year, but then it's also not been in them. So I'm a little bit like, is this one in or not? So I'm looking forward to that one because it's going to be something different. Again, this seems to be a growing trend of just like, I think going into year 4 of Disney Plus, I'm just like, I need some, it's like, it's all very fine having favorites, but sometimes you just want some new stories, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah, that's things. It's exciting because it's new, it's different, and if they're still filming it now with everything it takes in post-production, if it hits 2023, it's going to be like that book of Boba Fett where it's hit the last Friday or last Wednesday, whatever, it might have still been Friday back then, of December, so that they could say they delivered, and then, most of it is 2024.
Yeah. It's that kind of thing. I still remember that, like, oh yeah, we got something that year. It's like, no, you can't count that. It's just the last day of the year. We got it out. Yeah, you just barely. I'm kind of thinking sometimes with like Skeleton Crew, I'm wondering if they don't want to do necessarily the Lizzie McGuire thing where they go, this is coming this year. Oh no, it's not. And then kind of, don't. It's better at the beginning of the year to be like, this is what's coming that we know, because it's that kind of thing as well. The other ones are in the can. They're done. Yeah. You know that they're done. It's like with Agatha. They haven't even started filming it yet. So it's a bit, whereas, the other shows like Ironheart and Echo, and, they've been wrapped and they're finished and they're working on them. So lots of other bits and pieces coming in there from Star Wars. Are you looking forward to Visions? I'm hoping that comes as well.
Kind of. I mean, I enjoyed the different aspect of it. They're kind of like, anime is not my thing specifically, so it's one of those where it's okay. They did tell some good stories, so I can appreciate that, but if it had never been made, I wouldn't care. And if they didn't make a second season, I wouldn't care. But if they make a second season, I'll end up watching it.
It's because they were a bit hit and miss for me as well. Some were good, some were not so good. So that's going to be interesting how that goes on. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit now. We're now going to start talking about some Star originals. Now these are probably going to end up on Hulu in the United States. We're obviously still in the process of this year. It's still going to have that split of where they're going to be. But yeah, lots of different stuff coming up. Lots of big ones. This past week, we had Extraordinary released finally on Disney Plus. This one's been rumored for. This one's been going around for a while. Kind of weird because I saw this one like 6 weeks ago, and it's a fantastic new series. So do check it out this week. It is definitely really good. It's a proper British comedy. Kind of a lot of it is like zoomed in on the superhero aspect, but it's less of an importance. So that's a brand new one that's just come out, but I just thought I would just mention that one since that's the new release of the week. What's kind of jumping out at you so far of some of the Hulu stuff that you've seen?
Honestly, I know you and James talked about this already, but Koala Man is one that kind of interests me. A few years ago, my wife got really big into watching Australian TV, so I started watching with her. So I picked up on some things there. So I'm like, they're actually pretty entertaining. So that's one that I'm looking forward to watching more. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's one I'm looking forward to. But my only thing is, do we have to keep trying to do animation specifically for adults? I mean, if it's done well, I'm all for it. Look, I loved The Simpsons in the 90s. It doesn't need to still be on the air, even though it clearly does well. Same with Family Guy. I loved it. And American Dad, all these things in America. And I'm certain that Australians can do it better than Americans because, I have faith in them to do better than us at a lot of things.
It's odd with like things like with some of the shows. You kind of feel like, because I was watching I've been watching some Family Guy recently. I never really digged with American Dad. I never really, but again, it's just so long. It's just that kind of thing of like firing up Family Guy. They're going like, what season did I stop watching and when? Oh, I literally just went, you know what? I'm just going to start with the new one. I just started there because it was like I don't remember where I finished when I stopped. Which ones I've seen,
and it doesn't
which ones
matter.
I haven't seen. Yeah. So yeah, it's they I think 20th Century. I mean, they've really kind of got a run going with all these different shows that they're running. They got a lot. I think in some ways it might be better for them to slow down and stop some of the the ones that are in the 20-25 seasons. And maybe shift over to trying out some different. I've been enjoying some of the shows that they've been putting out. Some of them are awful, some of them are great. They're a bit hit and miss, but I always feel like with those shows, they're like, yeah, they have got an audience. Disney Channel is kind of that weird thing, isn't it? Of like, I don't think they really manage. I don't know if Great North might come under it, but like Simpsons kind of is more family friendly with stuff for adults. Whereas a lot of these other ones, you can just tell that they're aimed at 18 plus, and that is all they're aimed at.
I mean, I did enjoy Hit Monkey when it was out, but I also watched this like this is only going to be one season, even though I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I had a problem with that one of like trying to get into it, knowing that it was kind of like, and then they delayed it for the UK lot, and I was just like, and I just lost all like will to watch it, and it's kind of. Again, that's the problem when they delay stuff for us here in the UK. Especially like there were some shows that they did and like they'd already cancelled it before it even aired. At which point you're like, I'm not even going to waste my time. And it is a bit of a pain with that one. I mean, we've got a lot of new series coming up this year that could be interesting. It's always a bit. The trouble is with like the Hulu Star stuff as well is they don't announce stuff too far in advance.
Right.
We've had a few like clips now of Flaming Hot, which is a film that's going to be all about Cheetos, and it's a little bit like I'm like, what is this? Is there a really important story with them inventing a packet of crisps? I'm just like maybe because I don't even think flaming Cheetos are a thing here. I'm just like, is there some amazing story with this? It's going to be. I'm like, if they've made a movie out of it, there must be something there.
Well, you would think, but remember, somebody walked into a meeting one time and said, "All right, a tornado filled with sharks," and got a movie greenlit. So it doesn't really have to mean something.
I'm not gonna lie, I did like Sharknado. I've only watched the first one. I don't know. I might have watched the second. It was so stupid, but it was funny. I know the acting was it was that kind of thing. Like this is so bad, but I did kind of.
It was bad, but they knew they didn't go in playing it serious. Everyone knew it was bad. They're like, yeah, it's going to be a sci-fi original. We're like, oh, okay. So I saw the first three. And I think I saw the first one I really enjoyed. The second one I was like, yeah, I think I watched the third one just because like, oh, Chris Jericho gets eaten by a shark.
It's gonna be odd with that one. There's one series coming up in March. History of the World Part 2. Have you watched the first Part 1?
Yes. It is one of Mel Brooks' best films, but it was 40 years ago. And Mel Brooks hasn't had I'm trying to think. He hasn't had a massive film since, a massive. I'm trying to think what was massive. I mean, the Producers came out in 2005. I really enjoyed that one. But the last one I remember seeing before that was Dracula Dead and Loving It, which I didn't particularly love. When Mel Brooks comedies hit, they hit. But I don't know why we're revisiting this one now, especially with him in his 90s. How much is he actually involved in it? Because he was heavily involved in the first one in making it good. How much can he do now? I'm sure he's still quick-witted and a good writer, but a lot of stuff with him involved his own physical comedy.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because to be honest, I never heard of the film until I did an article of like a year or two ago saying they were making this series. I did have a look to see if it was streaming on any platform so I could watch it before the new one comes out. out for rental, but I was like, oh, I kind of was. I've got 6 streaming services. I was hoping it was going to be on one of them,
Right?
Because it's that kind of weird thing. Like I watched the trailer and it just really was just like, this is not funny. I didn't laugh at all. I just bring in a celebrity going, oh, I'm playing this person. I don't know who you are or who you're talking about. So it didn't really. So some of it was a little bit like, okay, it kind of went right over my head. So it's going to be a big series. It's going to be dropping like over a week, like new episodes and stuff. There seems to be a lot of faith in it, but as for me, I'm just a bit like, okay, this one might just is this going to work in 2023? That's the thing. Comedy's changed a lot since the 80s.
Yeah, this thing. I don't know if it'll work. And like I said, when Mel Brooks comedies work, they work. I know a lot of people who love Young Frankenstein. I don't particularly love that one, but I know a lot of people do. I loved Spaceballs. I enjoyed Robin Hood Men in Tights, but like I said, Dracula Dead and loving it. I watched it. It starred Leslie Nielsen, who was hysterical. I should have loved it, and I just went going, "Is this over yet? Is this over yet?" So
yes, the thing is for me is I love Spaceballs. I remember even having it on VHS, but I think it was more the Star Wars jokes that was what pulled me in on it. The Robin Hood one, just like I'd rather watch Robin Hood. And we had other things going on with Robin Hood at the time.
I enjoyed them making fun of Kevin Costner in that one. It was like, unlike other Robin Hoods, I can speak in an English accent.
It's kind of weird with all this one, but the thing is, as well, we've had a lot of announcements last week with the TCAs of some of the stuff that's coming out. We've got like tiny beautiful things. We've got Saint X, but because we're only really going off like pictures, it's kind of hard to kind of interconnect with them. I'm trying to think like. There's another movie coming out, The Boston Strangler, which I thought something that you might be like a little bit more connected with, obviously with where you live. But for me, this was like, oh, this is a 20th century studio film with Keira Knightley about a serious topic. It's like for me, it's like, yeah, I definitely want to see that film.
Yeah, I know the story of The Boston Strangler pretty well. Living, an hour drive from Boston, I'm interested in it, but it's one of those things where sometimes those when I start picking it apart. I'm like, well, that's not actually what happened. So sometimes that takes away your enjoyment. Yeah. So that's why I'm always a little wary on that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's. I feel like we're not in that same position with some of the 20th century films. Like last year, we knew we had like Prey and Princess and stuff. It's like this year, I don't think they're quite as strong as they were for last year. But I'm hoping really with most of the Searchlight and 20th century films that they end up going to cinemas first and kind of because I feel like those movies kind of, especially like with the Searchlight ones, they kind of have a better chance of making it because I mean, having just recently watched The Menu and The Banshees of Inisherin and like see how they run, you're looking at these films going, they deserved a little run, a little theatrical run, and also make the money back, and that's most important. Make some money.
Prey definitely deserved a theatrical run. I think that one would have done well. I understand why they didn't. Are we to the end of the contract now to where they don't have to go to HBO Max if they go to?
Any new releases from them no longer now have to go to HBO Max. So that frees them up.
But let's give them some. Put them in theaters.
Yeah. So hopefully we see that one there. I'm obviously looking forward to more of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh yes.
Can't go too wrong with that. I mean, that was such a great series. I think as well, like I think for me with like the Star Hulu stuff is you look at like some of the shows like Welcome to Chippendales, Pam and Tommy, The Dropout, Dope Sick. I don't see them coming. You just kind of, they just like, maybe just you see a little trailer and something they arrive and then you're like, oh, this is really good. Under the Banner of Heaven, all these kind of big FX shows. They very much, when they hit, that's when they hit, but you don't really, because they're not franchises, they don't tend to build up before they come out.
Yeah, I see your point there. Like The Dropout was one that I knew was coming big because of following the criminal case, and the woman just got 11 years in prison for what she did. Should have gotten more, but that's neither here nor there. Still waiting on the punishment for the guy. But Dope Sick. Well, I mean, I regularly work in TV, in local news, and how many different times we're reporting on opioids and how many of them you find out it started because the because the doctors were being paid by the pharmaceutical companies to prescribe these drugs, and it wound up leading to an addiction, and then they took them off of them, and now they're going to find other stuff. It's just
sometimes, but this is why I feel like with these shows they do so, because like for me being outside of America, I wasn't really aware of it. It was and like the American system is so different and stuff. So like that show was like, wow, I didn't know about any of this. So it was all fresh. And
I mean, it's a bit exaggerated in the shows, but it's still, a lot happened there.
And I feel like moving forward, like there's gonna be some series coming out, I know, from FX and on Hulu and Star later this year that are gonna be like, like things like The Bear that went out. I think we've got Bear season 2 coming, so I'm looking forward to that one. But shows like that just come along and just wow you. And that's to me, I always looked now when I look back at like 2022 and go, what are my favorite shows? And we're obviously in awards season right now where everyone, and it is just like, The Dropout, The Bear, Abbott Elementary. I'm thinking they were all amazing shows. And internationally, of course, they're all on Disney Plus. It makes it great. It makes it a really much more interesting platform when you throw in these mature stuff. It kind of gives us again just a little bit more value. I'm hoping in 2023 they kind of level up a little bit and start kind of using it a little bit more, but I'm still very wary of they've got to wait to sort out Hulu.
Yeah, and Comcast doesn't seem to be in any rush to, they'll gladly sell for a buyout, but they're not in any rush to do anything because, like, hey, either you're going to have to devalue this to the point that it hurts your brand, or you're going to have to pay us a bunch for it. So there's no incentive for Comcast to rush out unless Disney throws the money.
And I don't think sometimes this gets picked up enough. It's like Disney can't really try and devalue Hulu by taking stuff off, because then Comcast would probably then have some kind of right to be like, you have sabotaging it, and that's kind of goes into a thing. But
so that antitrust lawsuit.
So I think there's a whole load of other issues that we're just gonna have to wait for. But we'd love to know what your thoughts of what you're looking forward to from 2023. Obviously, as well, we've got some big cinema releases. But before we do that, I just want a quick shout out to our Patreon and YouTube channel members. So we've got Jonathan, DJ Frosttop, Ben, we've got Tim, Chuck, David, Mahmoud, Raphael, Adam, Dana, Ricky, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Martin. Also, big hello and thank you to Sarah. Thank you so much for your continued support. We've also got Andrew, Elliot, Jacob, Caleb, Red Bars Man, Aero, Cody, Daniel, Darren, The Juice, Lauren, Paul, and Babak. Thank you so much for your support. So we've also got some big movies coming to cinemas. Wish is one that I'm really looking forward to. And what about you?
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is one I'm looking forward to. Like I said, I want good Marvel. Ant-Man has a lot of times been the palate cleanser. Now they're finally getting to introduce the major villain with, well, we saw Kang as He Who Remains in Loki, but they get to introduce the truly villainous version of him in Ant-Man. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, after some of the seriousness of Phase 4, there's still going to be, Thor did the lightheartedness, and it was like the only one until the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So, so now some lightheartedness with the big villain feels good. So I'm looking forward to that. That's coming up in like 2 weeks. Wish, as you said, I'm looking forward to that. Those are the two big things I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I kind of got a sneaky interest in the Haunted Mansion. Again, it's like I love the ride. Let's see what they do with it. I love the music. Can they do it justice? Can they do it? The guy that ran it used to work on the attraction, and has got a much more love for it, which I'm hoping that does better with a little bit more love for the actual. And I think that can, because it's kind of weird, because on one hand, you look at Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's not the ride's nothing really like the film, and it kind of took off its own thing. But Haunted Mansion is kind of so integrated into how it is. It's so much different, I feel like, with that one. But also, again, Marvel movies. I think Marvels is the one I'm looking forward to a little bit more, because I feel like the characters that we've not seen a lot of. Obviously, Captain Marvel, she's been in a few little bits here and there, but just more of Miss Marvel. I mean, she was fantastic. So I think, and I like the fact as well that 2 of the different series have connected with the movie.
Uh-huh.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think because we've just had this holiday special, I don't feel quite so like it's like, well, I only, we've only recently had them in something new, so it doesn't feel quite so long now.
Yeah, we've recently had them. We had them both in Thor and their holiday special.
Yeah.
And then this is, James Gunn's last rodeo before he, that he made before he headed over to DC. And Batista has basically said this is his last time as Drax. So, at this point, any Guardians films are going to have a different lineup, which they did do in the comics, so it makes sense. But at this point, who's going to be left? Because they've all basically, once I feel like they're going to have wrapped up Star-Lord's story with this. So at this point, is it like Nebula and Rocket? Like, who's left at that point?
Well, at least we always know with Guardian, like Rocket and Groot can hang around. They don't need to be going anywhere. I think we're at a point, personally, with the MCU that we need to maybe get into a thing of where recasting becomes commonplace, like with Drax, of like, we just replace Drax. Batista's fantastic. I mean, I've been a fan of his since he was into stuff, but if he no longer wants to do it, don't get rid of it. Don't kill the character. Like, we got to get past this, how many
Not killing characters, especially your villains.
Yes. It is a bit like, please don't keep killing them off. We need them, unless I don't know, Secret Wars is just going to restart everything again.
That's true. I mean, I did see in the Ant-Man trailer, did enjoy seeing the guy who played Yellow Jacket pop up in a scene there. It looks like he's playing MODOK now.
Yeah, that's really weird because it's like he's not obviously MODOK in the comic books. I mean, maybe the thing is, well, this multiverse thing is going to really like screw up all like continuity and how it all works. I don't know. It's going to be weird how all this comes together. I did actually just recently watch Ant-Man, and I'm going to be rewatching Ant-Man and the Wasp again, and probably I might give it an Endgame another go before Ant-Man Quantumania comes out. Kind of get ready for it. But, well, there we go. That is a quick look there again at what's coming up in 2023. We'll have to hear your thoughts on what you're looking forward to. We'll have to hear your thoughts. Go check us out over at what's on at disneyplus.com. Next week, we'll be back. James will be back in. Jeremy will be jumping in and out almost like every other week or every other week plus one kind of thing over the next couple of months and stuff. But, yeah, so on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters.
Bye.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.